Hey guys, how's it going? This is Mike from M&R Automotive. Today we're installing the M&R hood mount kit on a 2023 Rivian. First thing we're going to do is pop the front trunk. Next thing I'm going to do is remove all the plastic trim pieces, the front, the sides, and the back piece, in order to have accessibility to mount the brackets as well as doing the wiring. So all of these are just held on clips. So if you just pull on them, they will unclip and come off. And the one in the rear, same thing. Just prop it up. There you go. We'll get it from the other end. Alright, the kit comes with two pods and the two M&R brackets, a driver and a passenger side. And it also comes with a wiring harness in order to connect it to a power source. Alright, so now that we have all the plastic trim pieces off, we're going to go ahead and peel this one under the windshield. And just kind of peel it up. And we're going to be removing the fender support bracket. That's what we're going to use to mount the M&R bracket onto it. I'm using a 10mm wrench. I recommend taking off this bracket completely. Be careful with this bolt, because if it doesn't hold the whole bracket, it'll slide under and you're going to lose this bracket inside the fender. It's going to give you guys a bigger project than you wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this one. While I'm removing this one, I'm also going to prop and hold the bracket with my other hand, so that way I don't drop it. Now I'm going to loosen this vertical one, and when you loosen it, it slides right underneath it. See, so if you slide it and it falls in the fender, it's going to be a big headache trying to recover it. So now that we removed the fender bracket, we're going to go ahead and remove this bolt, slide the M&R bracket through, and reinstall it. We're not going to tighten it all the way because it's going to slide from under, and this is the bolt that's going to be actually tied down to the vehicle. Let me show you how I do it. I'm going to peel this up. I'm going to slide the fender bracket from underneath, and then I'm going to align the secondary bolt hole and reinstall the same bolt that we've taken out in the previous step. Now that we've got the bracket installed, we're going to go ahead and put this back. And notice that the mount is very sturdy. It does not vibrate, so your lights are going to not jump around when you're driving. Every time I install my mounts, I do two tests to make sure that the hood doesn't touch it and to make sure that the windshield wipers don't touch it. So the first one, we're going to go ahead and put the hood down, and it's not rubbing against anything, which is good. And now I'm going to go inside the vehicle and test the windshield wipers, and they clear the brackets as well. Now that I'm happy with it, I'm going to do the same thing on the passenger side. Okay, so notice that I'm holding this bracket. What I'm going to do is kind of move it from underneath it and take it out, because this clip is just underneath the washer. So now that we removed the fender bracket, we're going to go ahead and remove this bolt, slide the M&R bracket through. Just a reminder, we're going to have to slide this underneath those teeth, so I'm not going to go ahead and tighten this all the way. I'll do it on the vehicle when it's on. So now we're going to go ahead and slide this bracket with the M&R bracket. We're going to reinstall the second bolt. And now I'm going to do the two tests again with the hood and the windshield wipers. So the hood clears. So now that everything clears, we're ready to install the pods onto the mounts themselves. Alright, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to install these cradles onto the M&R mounts. And I'm going to do that with the use of M&R hardware. This is all the hardware that comes with it. We're going to install the cradles. Notice that the slot is angled towards the back. It allows you to aim the lights. We're going to use a washer and a nut. I want to go ahead and tighten it, but not all the way, because we are going to be able to adjust it later on when the pod is actually on. Okay, a couple more. Okay, we're gonna put it like that. We'll be able to tighten this after the pod sits into the cradle. Let's go ahead and install the pod now. Each pod is held by 4 Allen bolts. There's 2 bigger ones. Those are the ones that go on the inside. The 2 larger Allen bolts go into the middle of the light. And then the smaller ones, those are the ones that are used for adjusting the angle. Okay, now that we installed the pod onto the mount, we're going to go ahead and try to level it. Okay, so just palm the light, apply a little bit of pressure, so that way you can make it angled based on your desire.
That's good.
And we're going to do the same thing on the passenger side. And just like the driver's side, we're gonna do the larger bolts on the inside of the light, and then the smaller ones towards the back for angling. Now we're going to go ahead and put the hood down. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten all the bolts. Now that we have the lights and the mounts installed, let's talk about the wiring. The wiring harness that you will get in this kit is just designed to connect the lights between each other and extend it to a power source. Our next step is going to use the supplied wiring harness in order to connect both lights together on one line, so that way that one line can connect to a power source, which in this case will be the module. We are going to use 2 different switches. One's going to be for main white light, and the second one's going to be for the amber DRL. So let's get to it. So in the M&R wiring harness, you're going to get the main wiring harness, which is going to provide 2 different power sources, and you're going to get 2 grounds. The grounding straps are going to go towards the black cables on the lights themselves, and then the red is going to provide power to the main light, and the white's going to provide power to the amber DRL. So let's start crimping. So on one end of the wiring harness you have the white and the red. We're going to go ahead and match them to the lights themselves. So we'll go red to red and white to white. Nice crimp. I like to pull them a little bit. Thing to the white. And for the black wire, we're going to go ahead and use the grounding strap. Notice on one side there's the crimp, on the other side it's an eyelid. So we're going to go ahead and crimp it on the side of the lights. And we're going to ground this. I'm looking at here. I think this will be one nice bolt in order to ground it. We're going to feed the same bolt through the wire, and we're going to reinstall it. Okay, so now the passenger side is finished. We're going to go ahead and drag this wiring harness across to the driver's side. Okay, so on the driver's side, after feeding this through, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go red to red. We're going to go white to white. And the black wire is going to go to the grounding strap. We're going to go ahead and use this. We're going to use this bolt from the frame. Feed the same bolt through the eyelid and reinstall it. In order to get a power source from the battery, we're going to use this product. We've never used it before, but we'll show you exactly how to do it, and we're going to provide a link in the description. It's a wireless 8-gang switch power system module. So what it's going to do, you're going to have a module that's going to be connected to a battery, and then there's going to be a wireless remote that's going to be going inside the cab. The benefit of that is that we don't have to drill through the firewall in order to drag any wiring. So let's see what's included. So upon opening, I already saw there's some stickers. These are the stickers that we're going to put on the remote that we're going to take inside the vehicle. Like I mentioned, it is a wireless remote, so we're going to be able to control all of our electronics through this panel without dragging any wiring inside the cab of the vehicle, making installation very easy. We have the instruction manual. We have the actual module. We have the main fuse. It's an 80 amp. It's going to go in between the battery and the control module. We have the main ground that's going to serve the same purpose between the battery or a ground on the vehicle and a control module. We have a USB cable. My assumption is that it is in order to charge the remote itself. I think I saw it. Yeah, there's right here. So there's batteries in here, so you're going to have to occasionally charge up the remote. And these are additional brackets and hardware in order to secure it in the engine bay. So it looks fairly easy. We're going to give power and ground to this module, and we're going to be able to connect various auxiliary devices and control it wirelessly without taking any wiring inside the cab. This particular version has 8 different buttons, and you can see the amperages for every circuit. So it goes from 5 amps all the way to 30. We're only going to use 2 of this on this hood mount kit. One for the main power, which is the white light, and the second one's going to be for the amber DRL. So the amber DRL barely takes up any amperage, so we'll probably throw that on a 5 amp fuse, and the hood mount kit itself will probably take a 10 amp as well. This is kind of cool because you have a lot of 30 amp ones, and that's going to be good for some of the accessories that take a big amp draw. This is probably an overkill for this hood mount kit because of the amperage draw and the fuses that are available, but I wanted to test out this product for my future projects.
So I see the hood mounts are done. Now it's time for wiring. Have you ever done a wiring on an electric vehicle before?
No, this is technically my first, but with doing some research, aside from having the main battery pack on the vehicle, there's also 12-volt batteries right next to the air conditioning unit. So what we're gonna do is actually take this plastic cover off, and here you'll see the 12-volt sources. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, I actually want to take this apart. You got to take out 4 Phillips screws, and that's going to be able to show us all the circuits that we're going to be connecting the lights to, as well as the main power and the ground. This is actually a really nice quality product. You can see everything is insulated, all the electronics. This is where we're going to connect the power, this is where we're going to connect the ground, and here's all the circuits as well as the amperages that they handle with all the fuses. So let's get started. We'll go ahead and take that off. Since this is a positive, we will connect a positive terminal. We're going to actually go from the bottom, slide that under, and tighten that. And we're going to do the same thing for the ground. Let this loose. Bring the ground in. Okay, so now we have the power and the ground connected. Notice that the power cable is red. It also has an inline fuse. We can go ahead and connect it to the battery of the vehicle. And then the ground, we can also find a nice ground in the engine bay and have it all completed, start connecting our accessories. So before we get started with the wiring, let's make sure that we turn the fuse off on the module itself. By pressing this button, it'll reset it. If this arm is actually in line with the fuse, there's power going through it. So in order to, for safety purposes, so this would be in the on position. Before I do any type of wiring, I want to go ahead and temporarily disconnect this, and then we'll go ahead and reconnect it back when everything is properly wired. See, so now this is reset. Now there's no power going through this through the fuse. I'm about to get into this Rivian. So once I got into the front trunk opening of the vehicle, there's a 12-volt power source right behind it. If you lift these up, I'm going to go ahead and use this circuit here. I'm going to slide the circuit under. Okay. And it closes back up. We're going to get the ground right next to it in here. Now we can connect all of our accessories directly to the module and control it with a wireless remote. I like to connect everything, test out all of my components, and then after we're all set, we're going to go ahead and hide it and zip tie it into the engine bay. Okay, so now that everything's connected, let's go ahead and see what switch we're going to be using. When looking at the remote control, we're going to use switch number 2 for the DRL function, and we're going to switch number 7 for the white light. Switch number 7 is 30 amps. You're not required to do it, but I kind of didn't want to have them very close together, so I'm going to go ahead and separate them on 2 different ends of the module, but feel free to utilize any button that you want. So we know that the white light we're gonna go ahead and connect to switch number 7. So on the positive terminal of it, I'm gonna go ahead and insert the red wire, because the red wire is gonna be the power to the white light. So you wanna feed it from the underneath the slot. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up a little bit. Feed the wire through and tighten it back up. So that's switch number 7 for the white light. And like I said, that's just a personal preference. And we're going to do switch number 2 for the amber DRL. Tug on it to make sure it's a good connection, and I think we're ready to test it. So what we're gonna do, before I started all the electrical, I disconnected the fuse. So now I'm gonna go ahead. Okay, so now that we turn it on, we're gonna go ahead and pair the remote with the module. So based on the instructions, it says that we have to tap key number 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This light blinks, and now it's paired with the remote. Here I want to demonstrate the function of the remote. If I press this button, the white light turns on. If I press this button, the amber DRL. Just want to show you guys, it's nice and neat in here. There is no wires. The bracket itself sits very low to the vehicle itself, and it doesn't rub with the windshield wipers nor the actual hood of the vehicle. Let me go ahead and open it so you can see there's definitely clearance. Now let's go inside and let's find a good location for this remote. So I personally like to find a flat spot for this double-sided tape. You can either mount it here on top of the dash. If you want to have more visibility of the buttons, you can mount it here as well. And the beauty about it is that we didn't have to run a wire through the firewall in order to control the module. Now I'm gonna go ahead and zip tie everything since everything's functioning properly, make it nice and neat and covered up. Thank you very much for watching.